and more. There's a lot to do in life, and there's a lot that can still be done with the wheelchair. I'm getting a phone call. Everything is ringing. Yay, what up?
I'm on my way home. Are you at the house?
Yeah, I am. What up?
If you're not like in bed or anything yet, do you mind starting some noodles?
Yeah, I can do that. Welcome back to Travel 101. Today's video is about planning activities. This is going to be a pretty short one. Let me check the time. Okay. This is going to be pretty short because it's actually quite difficult to give advice about. There are so many factors that get into how to plan activities. First of all, if you're traveling alone or not, then where you are, what you are interested in doing, and that's it, actually. So I'll give you a general idea of how I plan the activities, whatever they are, for my trip, and then I'll give a little bit more detail about how I find out what's accessible. But before we get into that, I should reiterate, because I talked about this in the destination video, it really depends on what you like and what you're interested in. There are actually some accessible groups where you can travel with other people in a wheelchair to go on trips, and they have trips at different places in the world that are accessible, and they plan the activities for you that are accessible. There are accessible cruise ships if you want to go on a cruise. So there are a lot of options. The problem is that the options don't matter until you know what you want. You need to first have that thing that you want to get out there. What are you interested in doing? Why are you traveling? What are you traveling for? Is it for the food? Is it for the culture, the people, the language, the city, the nature, whatever else there is? Think about that. Then we get into the planning. Then when you know that you really want this type of food, or just you want food in general, you can plan to eat at 3 or 4 places every day. Be a complete glutton, because that's kind of what you're supposed to do on vacation if you're traveling for food. And if you're traveling for the culture, then maybe you already know what you're going for. Maybe there's a festival. Maybe there's a certain area of the city that you want to see. If it's for the people, just to be within that culture, but you want to meet people, then you go to the bars, you go out at night, and you go to the places where the tourists are not. If it's for the history and the buildings and the architecture, then you probably also already have an idea of what buildings, where you want to go for the historical sites. Okay, so on top of all that, and I know that was kind of a non-answer, because I really can't give you a straight up answer. I can tell you what I like to do. I like to go to museums, libraries, arcades, parks. Like you take a nice walk around the park. Maybe you see some of the local wildlife. I like to walk around the city, popular areas of the city, the nightlife, the street markets, for food or for shopping. I like to go to the malls. I like to go to grocery stores, a normal grocery store, just to see how does the average person just shop and eat. And I sometimes like to go and bring home some spices and seasonings. If there's something like a creative market, so not food, but local, business people, I guess. Local businesses, kind of like an art fair. So it's a bunch of local people with their booth, and they make jewelry, they make food, they make a bunch of things, and it's local, and it's them who are there. That can be cool. That's what I like to do. So on top of all that, and whatever you like to do as well, organizing it is also pretty important. So depending on the activity you want, if you're going skydiving, then that's kind of a whole day trip, because you have to get there. You're going to have breakfast before, maybe not if you don't want to throw up. And then once you're done, you go have lunch, you go have a beer, all this stuff. So the general idea when it comes to planning activities. I will first go to Google Maps and I will pin all the places that I want to go that are interesting to me. I might not do all of them, but all of them are something I'm interested in. And then day by day, I'll see maybe there's really good weather or really bad weather, where it's really rainy or it's really sunny. Depending on the weather, maybe there's the museum over here on the map, and around it, there's 6 other things that I want to do. So I'll go to that area. I'll try to do as much of them as I can, but also along the way, after and during and before, I have time to stop and smell the roses. I can see an interesting street and I'll go walk down it. Or I see a bakery and so I'll stop in and maybe I'll get the best bread I've ever had. So it's kind of like this loose planning. You have everything you want to do in the maps, but you take it day by day and you see what's around, what's nearby, which things are next to each other, which things are not. And then along the way, you should also leave time and make sure that you are able to be a little bit spontaneous. So that's it. How to plan your vacation. It's very loose. This is the way I travel, by the way. If you're a little bit more rigid, if you like to make reservations, or how I mentioned skydiving, that's something you have to plan ahead for. There are also some things that if it's a really popular museum and you need tickets, then you need to buy those tickets in advance and you just have to choose the day to go, and then that's what you're doing on that day. You can't say, oh, I'll go tomorrow instead. You have your ticket and you have to go on that day. So those are some cases where you have to be a little bit more rigid in your planning. But other than that, I highly recommend just find a bunch of things that you're interested in and choose what to do that day. Leave some time for spontaneous activities. And when it comes to accessibility in all of this, that can be difficult. Google Maps can be wrong. You could email or call the place, or you could just go and find out. If you're alone, it's a little bit more difficult. If you have people with you, then it's much easier to get help in and out of wherever you're going, so you don't have to worry about accessibility too much. There also might be some government or local guides that will tell you what's accessible, where to go and what to do. Japan has this, and maybe a couple other countries as well, but I haven't checked. And that's it. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.